I found it.
Sick. Blue Ridge, what's going on, my friends?
Let's go.
How you doing? Look at that. It is 1 million degrees up in here. My name is Daniel Dekay. Welcome to Knotfest's Defender of the Riff live and in person. This is something that we were doing on the internet throughout the pandemic
Through the
and
dark ages.
The dark ages. And Chris was actually one of my first guests when we did it online. And now we're doing it at festivals, and this is the first time we've done it. This is the inaugural guest, Chris Davis of The Ghost Inside. My dude, what is up?
Setting the bar low for the first one. I like that.
No, we're setting
so much room to go up from here. So much room.
No, man, I'm telling you, you got to be one of the most wicked right hands on this entire festival.
That's the only thing I got.
Oh, stop
That's
it.
the only thing I got.
Dude, one of the a right hand that James Hetfield would even look at, you know?
That's the kind of compliment I'm looking for, though.
There you go. I told you this would be fun.
That's the whole reason I started playing guitar in the first place was Papa Het.
So then let's just jump in right on that. That's what Defender of the Riff is all about. It's about getting to know the player, why we do this, why we have given up any sense of a normal lifestyle to defend the riff and live by it. So just bring me to the beginning. You talk about Hetfield. Tell me about some of those earliest influences and the reason why you're sitting here holding a guitar.
So I actually started in a pretty, like not how you would imagine for a guitar player who's, fortunate enough to do this as a career. I started as a drummer. And so it all started for me with my dad showing me the Black Album, like right when it first. So I was like 2, and I remember hearing the Black Album for the first time. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And it changed my life forever from there. I started to go as I got a little bit older. I stole the Black Album from my dad and started going backwards through the Metallica discography. And I had started playing drums in like the orchestral band at school. So I just gravitated towards asking for a drum set, and then Lars was my guy. He was my North Star forever, and I know that people shit on Lars all day long, but I'll stab you. Don't say anything about my guy. And then at some point, I started realizing that like while drums are really cool and I enjoy playing them, like I can't really write a song unless I can play guitar. And so I was like, well, Metallica has cool riffs. Who writes the riffs in Metallica? Oh, it's mainly James. Oh, James has the tightest right hand in the world, and then James became my North Star, and I realized that like while drums were fun, I had infinitely more fun being able to write melodic passages instead of being stuck to your snare and your hi-hat and a kick drum, like doing the rhythmic side of things. But I actually think in a weird way, you mentioned my right hand, and like while Papa Het has been like my biggest idol as far as playing guitar, I think a lot of my right hand stuff came from being a drummer, because I feel like a lot of my playing is pretty percussive. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty heavy with my right hand, but I think a lot of that truly came from like the drum background.
I mean, I was gonna jump off with that for sure. I was gonna say like between Texas in July and TGI, like we're talking about 2 very like chonky right hand prominent bands. It makes sense that you came from a drumming background because that's where that percussive element must have come from.
Yeah, and I think that is actually why I ended up slotting in pretty well to Texas in July, because I wasn't an original member. I came in, and it was a big learning curve for me, guitar playing wise. The stuff I was doing with my band prior to that was pretty basic metalcore, like As I Lay Dying, ripping off like the Swedish melodic death metal riffs and shit. And Texas was a couple steps beyond that, a little bit more, I don't know if I would say progressive is the right word, but it was quite a bit more technical. And even on like the rhythmic side, the breakdowns and stuff, like Adam's drumming, super technical. So to keep up with that, I think that what helped me slot into that band so seamlessly was that I had a drummer brain and I could relate to where he was coming from on the rhythmic side of things. So I think that really, even though it's not the most you're not your standard way to get into guitar playing, but it actually benefited me like big time to get into this world.
There's also got to be something pretty exciting about starting with the Black Album and getting to move backwards as opposed to growing up with them in the 80s and then going forwards with the career.
Yeah, I think anybody who got to experience the first 4 albums definitely looked at the Black Album as like the sellout record.
Yeah.
And it was for sure way, because I did the Black Album, and then I was too young to go back in the discography at that point, because like I say, he showed it to me when I was like 2 when it came out.
Right.
And then I got load and reload with him, and then around that age, or around that time, I was the age where I could go buy my own records, and I was like, what do these older Metallica things sound like? And I was like, Master of Puppets, are you kidding me? Like starting with Battery, are you kidding me? And like it blew my mind. And then once I found And Justice for All, I was like, well, this is the greatest metal album ever written ever. And so you get it. And so like, while I think a lot of people regard Master of Puppets as their best record, for me, I think that And Justice for All is like potentially the best metal album literally ever created on the planet. And I stand by that. It could use some bass guitar.
Yeah.
Poor Jason Newsted, but like the riffs and the songwriting, and it's like it's over the top for sure. Like they went really far in the progressive direction with writing 8-9 minute songs with shifting time signatures, and it's all over the place. But it's unbelievable, and the fact that they were doing that before Pro Tools and all the digital editing and shit we have that like these days, for that record to sound as tight and like sonically the way it sounds was, I feel like, way ahead of all the other, like it's to me, considering when it came out, it's like the best metal album of all time.
Yeah, we definitely need some And Justice for Jason, though.
I agree. Yeah. I wish that I think I heard that like the masters for that record were like destroyed or something, and they can't go back and remix it. So they
How
say.
convenient.
Yeah, pretty convenient. But it's poor Jason Newsted, man.
There's like fan remixes, like tons of YouTube videos.
I've listened to them all, and they do sound better.
They do, yeah. That album needs some serious bass. But dude, compositionally wise, I get why you say that is a perfect record. It fucking rules. So obviously you figure out you want to do guitar, you say, because the songwriting element, you realize you need the guitar to do it. But how far into the drumming career do you get? Like,
not very far. I played. So I started really young. Actually, the guy who is here tour managing us today, I played in my first band ever with him when I was 11 years old.
Damn.
And I met them skateboarding in my friend's neighborhood, and they were like talking about how they were in a band and they needed a drummer, and I was like, I have a drum set, I'll play, And these kids that were like quite a few years older than me were like, well, come on, here's all these bands we listen to. At that point, I'd only listened to Metallica, and I think I had heard the self-titled Slipknot record had just come out around that time, and so I like was familiar with that. But they showed me like the Killswitch Engages of the world, the Decapitateds of the world. Like they showed me the entire world of music I didn't know existed. I like definitely wouldn't have accepted or taken in without these older kids that I looked up to showing them to me, being like, this is cool, you should listen to this, and me being like 11 years old and be like, yeah, I like this now, So I played in a local band for a bit, but like it quickly shifted to guitar for me, because I was like, we're writing songs at band practice, but it's going slow, and I can't contribute until there's a guitar riff, so maybe I just start trying to learn guitar so I can try to contribute. And then once I started doing that, I was like, oh, this is so much more fun.
Yeah,
I can contribute so much more and so much faster if I'm the one holding the guitar.
It's also way less labor to stand up and play guitar than it's a workout playing drums, man.
You like basically run a marathon every time you play a show. Like it's crazy, and it's infinitely more shit to set up. You break a cymbal and it's a couple $100 every time you break a cymbal. It's like, get me out of there, man. Get me out.
For sure. Let's talk. You talk about your friend showing you some of the heavier shit. You're getting into Killswitch, Decapitated. Tell me about like the gateway drug, band, or riff that gets you from like Black Album. How do you get it from to that into like where we are today? Like, what's the gateway riff and or band?
So it's probably gonna be. It would have to be the big three of like that new wave of American heavy metal, or whatever the hell it was coined, like the early metalcore stuff. So it was like Killswitch, As I Lay Dying, Unearth. Like those were the bands that I was like, that's what I want to do. And so it was like when As I Lay Dying came out with Shadows of Security. What's the like Confined? Like when that came out, I was like, well, that's the sickest shit ever.
Yeah.
Like the riffs were technical, but they were also melodic at the same. And I was like, that's awesome. like the guitar riff is almost the hook, because at that time, like, As I Lay Dying didn't really have much singing. Like, they had singing courses every now and then, but it was like the melody is coming strictly from the guitar riff, but it's also technical at the same time. So I was like, that's what. And it was the same thing with On Earth. It's like they're technical, and that's like a little thrashy, but it's like pretty melodic at the same time too. It's like that's what I was trying to harness in the very beginning. It wasn't about being over the top, the technical and flashy, but I wanted the riffs to be hooky. Now, I joined Texas in July, and it started to go a little more over the top technical. But when I first started playing, because I wasn't super good yet, it was easy for me to pick up an As I Lay Dying. Like, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It sounds hard, but it's pretty simple. So I gravitated towards that sound in the beginning, and like that was the whole jumping off point for me, for sure.
What were you really like cutting your teeth on? Which players were helping you get to that next level? Because Texas was a technical fucking band, man.
Yeah. I don't really know. Like, so for early on for me, like I said, it was the Papa Heads, it was the Dimebag Darrells, it was the Zach Wilds. Like that was where I started at, and then it became Nick Hippa from As I Lay Dying. Adam D became, for a lot of things, like Adam D from Killswitch was. So I produce bands when I'm not on tour, and I like to get into mixing, and I like take a lot of pride in doing a lot of the audio stuff for our band, and a lot of it comes from like trying to match Adam D. You know, I feel like for the early 2000s, 2010s, like he was the gold standard for like metal producers, and and like having your record mixed by Adam D was like, that was an accomplishment, because it was like he set the standard for what bands in our genre were supposed to sound like. So for a long time, like I'd say that after Papa Het, for the more modern guy, like Adam D became my guy. Like, unbelievable guitar player, had an incredible ear for like the sonic side of things, and I was like, I just want to sound like that guy. And again, it's like the technical riffs that aren't super duper hard to play, but they're like, almost every Killswitch song has a guitar riff or lead that is just as hooky as the vocal in the song. It's like that's the Adam D brain. Like, and I think that is more accurately reflected in like Ghost Inside stuff, more so than Texas stuff. Like, Ghost Inside music is not super technical, but I think that the thing that I can tie to the Killswitch thing is like our leads. Like, sometimes we don't have any singing in a song, and the guitar lead becomes like the hook of the song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that's something I feel like comes from a band like Killswitch Engage. Or on the other side, like the more hardcore side of things, which is another huge influence for our band, like Misery Signals. Like, that band like very rarely ever had singing. All of their hooks came from the incredible guitar playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, you know, you've always sort of been in that world of melodic hardcore, melodic death metal, and more the tech stuff. We're talking about a lot of American bands. I heard you mention in the beginning, though, like some of that Swedish melodic death metal shit. Yep. Like, was that like bands like At the Gates massive for you in getting into this style of music?
So I was late to At the Gates. I got into like the As I Lay Dying, the Killswitch, and then I realized that all of those bands were taking notes from the Swedish bands, from the In Flames. Yeah, they were just taking notes from all the bands in Sweden that for some reason flew under the radar over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the In Flames, it was the Soilworks, it was the At the Gates. Once I realized that they were a band that everybody just ripped off, you know what I mean? But yeah,
sure.
they were. Slaughter the Soul is an incredible record that I feel like just for some reason, obviously now it's regarded as like this masterpiece, but I feel like for some reason when it came out, it just like no one cared. Well, they're too ahead of their time or something. I don't know.
Well, the secret's out now. Everyone knows that that's where we all got our riffs from.
Right.
You know,
Thank you guys.
The band wasn't there to defend themselves at the time. They were split up. All these bands were popping up, playing Slaughter the Soul riffs, and then they're like, wait a minute.
Right.
We did that first.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that was a huge one. But I think of those, like, Soilwork was huge for me. When Stabbing the Drama came out, I was like, I think that record is it's like offensively underrated. It's so good. In Flames was a big one for me for a long time too. But yeah, I got swept up in like the metalcore stuff going on over here too. So like I went from like the thrash metal stuff, I found the new wave of American heavy metal, then found like the Swedish stuff, and then I was like, oh, but I like breakdowns, so I'm gonna go this way too.
Yeah, and I mean your percussive right hand lends so well.
Right.
Like,
It felt like it was more in my lane of what fit my style of playing, and so I just gravitated towards like so like Unearth was a metalcore band that got swept up in the like new wave of American heavy metal thing, but they definitely leaned a bit more metalcore with their breakdowns. I mean, I think that here's a hot take: no Unearth, no August Burns Red.
Damn.
Those breakdowns that Unearth was doing before anybody else, I think, is like that's the foundation of like the August Burns Red technical like Endless by Unearth is like the first August Burns Red breakdown, but like so that kind of stuff just really sucked me in.
I'm sure your boy Ken Susi would be stoked to hear you
Dude,
say that.
I love a Ken Susi. Oh, I've told I had Ken on my Twitch stream. We talked about it, and I told him that then. And I think that even if you ask the August Burns Red guys, like they'd probably tell you the exact same thing.
That's
like
rad.
they for sure were influenced by Unearth and all the bands of that era.
Fuck yeah. I see you playing one of your beautiful LTD guitars here.
This is my favorite guitar I've ever owned in my entire life.
Damn. Tell me about this one. What makes this guy special?
So I've recently fallen in love with like the classic body styles, so like the Strats and the Tele body styles. But this guitar I got at the beginning of this year, and it is like quickly outshone all of my other guitars. So I actually really love. I've never had a guitar with single coil pickups in it before. I've always had two humbuckers.
Yeah.
So having the single coil in the neck for like really creamy leads is incredible. But the big thing for me also is that I like swear by the Evertune bridge, and this came with the Evertune already in it, and it just, I don't know. I don't know if you guys don't know, like the Evertune basically compensates for the tuning. So this guitar literally can never go out of tune. Like I can set it so it'll bend. Or I can bend the string all day and it'll never go out of tune.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you got to give me a tutorial on restringing one of those. 'Cause
Sure.
that's when I started giving up on.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
There's a small learning curve, but I just swear by it. I just know, like, for instance, we went and grabbed this out of the back of our Penske truck that's been living in for the past 3 days.
Yeah.
And it has lived in a warehouse for 2 weeks prior to that. And I walked on stage and it was in tune.
Yeah, I can 100% vouch. I watched that guitar did not get to. I got a tuner in front of me. He didn't even look at it.
I just knew it was going to be in tune. And so it's like, it's that kind of stuff that like, I'm always looking to eliminate any sort of extra variables of anything that could possibly go wrong in a live setting. And I just know that like when my guitar tech hands me this guitar, it's just going to be in tune.
Yeah.
I just never have to worry about it. You know, the other guys tune a couple times during the set, and like while they're doing that, I just take an extra sip of water.
Yeah.
I just never have to worry about it.
It's pretty cool. And obviously the biggest curse for anyone is as soon as you break a string and tension changes, your guitar goes out of whack.
And you don't have to worry about what the
Does
Evertune.
not
You break
happen.
a string, it'll stay in tune, and I could break a string, pull the broken one out, put the new one in, pull it to tension, and it'll be in tune again.
So damn
Never have to
cool.
worry about it.
That
But
is so damn
the other
cool.
side of it too is the Fishman pickups. I'm a Fishman artist, very into the Fishman stuff. I got out of the active pickups because of Metallica. I was an EMG guy forever.
Yeah.
And then I started dabbling around with like bare knuckles and all the other passive pickup options out there, and went down that route for a while. And then Ken from Unearth sent me a set of Fishmans, and I was like, well, I did a tour where I had 3 guitars out, and all the guitars had different pickups in them, and I was shooting them out. And we were on in-ears, and I was like, every night when I switched to the guitar with the Fishmans in it, I was like, it just cuts through everything going on so much better than anything else.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing when we tracked our last record. We did our last record with Will Putney, and the dude's got dozens of guitars in his studio with dozens of different pickup configurations, and we probably shot out 10 different pickups for the record, and the Fishman's just like smoked everything.
I'm loving those Fluents.
They are so
the
good.
The voicings on the Fluents are insane.
And that's the other thing of it too, is you get a normal guitar with 3 pickup positions. You just get your neck, a mix of the 2, and then your bridge,
Yeah.
and that's it. And with the Fishmans, there's 2 voicings in one. Well, I got to switch for this, but
Yeah.
you get your active sound and then you get a passive sound. You get the best of both worlds in one set of pickups.
Yeah, and the clarity too, like the note clarity. There's just listen. Ken puts it best when he's selling the pickups. Pickup technology hadn't changed
It's true.
forever. It's
Yep.
like about time someone came in and was like, "We can do this different."
Well, there's the other side of that too is prior to the Fluences, pickups were always wound. It's
Yeah.
like magnets that they wind copper wire around, and you could have 10 of the same pickup in front of you technically, but they will all sound slightly different because the wrap will never be 100% the same. And Fishman started printing PCB boards as their wraps, so every single pickup you get, all of them are 100% the same. I could take out this pickup and drop in another one and it'll sound 100% the same.
Which, you know, of course, as a producer, you must love that in a studio setting. You know, every fucking pickup sounds the same on
Yep.
the record.
Yep. It's a consistent. It's like I said, I like to take out the variables. I don't want to have to worry about stuff when I'm going to play a show for, you know, if we play to a couple thousand people today, I don't want to have to worry about any random variables going wrong. I just know that my pickup's going to sound the way I need it to. My guitar's going to stay in tune, and that's that.
It is, for anyone who hasn't played a live show, the horror of things going wrong. And that's why we have these beautiful amps behind us, but, you know, switching to modern technology and modelers and things like Evertunes and Fishmans, like it's tools for the touring musician. They
Yep.
really are.
Yep, and that's the same thing. We switched to a few years back. We switched to going digital amps. Now we play through the Quad Cortex and so in-ears, Quad Cortex, Evertune, Fishman pickups. It's like I know when I put my in-ears on every day and I plug my guitar in, it's gonna sound like it did the night before, and I don't ever have to worry about that. It's just, and we fly with this gear all around the world, and I know that when we show up, plug it in, turn it on, it's just gonna be what it was when we set it up before we left. You know, it's never gonna change on us.
It's
Knock on wood. I'm gonna say I'm talking a lot of shit up here. I'm gonna turn our shit on today. It's gonna like catch on fire or something. But you know, it's so far been unbelievably reliable. And you know, there is a time and place for, you know, tube amps still. There, all the digital modelers are trying to sound like them.
Exactly.
So obviously there's a place for them, but they do create a lot of variables that I just don't like having on the road with me.
No kidding. We're here at Blue Ridge. TGI's playing tonight. We're kind of in this second coming of TGI. There was, you know, huge comeback show in 2019 and sort of the vibe. Yeah, fuck yeah. Sold out in 4 minutes if you guys didn't know.
It was crazy.
Unprecedented
Yeah, it was
comeback
crazy.
show. But the vibe kind of surrounding that was sort of like, yeah, we don't know if this will be the first and only show or if we're going to do 100. We probably won't tour again, but we might. And now here you are, having just completed a tour. You did a shitload of festivals. You've been active. What's going on with the band? There's a new single out. Tell me how that mentality changed as you got going after 2019.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. For those of you who don't know, in 2015, our band was in our tour bus was in a head-on collision with a semi, and both drivers passed, and the 5 of us and our 5 crew were in the hospital for months, recovering from that. And I mean, it took more than months, but we were in the hospital for months. Our drummer lost his leg, our guitar player lost half his foot. It was bad, and there was a long time recovering from that where we were uncertain. At least I was uncertain that we would ever play again. You know, like you find out that your drummer's losing his leg, and you go, how could we ever play a show again? You know what I mean? But luckily, Andrew is the perfect mixture of stubborn, determined, and just unbelievably frustratingly talented at everything he does. And he wasn't willing to give up, and so we started, you know, working on getting back to playing shows. And so, like you said, we played the Shrine in LA for our comeback show, and it was way beyond anything we ever could have imagined it being. But we did go into that one literally not knowing if it would be the last one or not, because of all the physical injuries that we all had. We didn't know what it would be like to go up. Like, how are we going to feel the next day? Would we even be able to make it through the whole set we planned? You know, like, none of us knew what to expect with our physical limitations.
And as well, who the fuck wants to jump back into the road after having
Right.
such a horrific experience?
Right. So we announced that, and we had offers to do things before that, and we just weren't ready. And like, Warped Tour, like Kevin Lyman had been holding a spot for us every year, basically being like, whenever you're ready, you have a spot on the tour. And we weren't able to get there before the tour stopped. So we had offers, but we just couldn't commit to anything. And so we announced the Shrine show, and more offers obviously started coming in after that to go do stuff. We were like, guys, like, we appreciate you thinking about us, but we have to pump the brakes here. We have to make it through one and make sure we can even do that. And so we played the show, and the show was, like I said, beyond anything we could have imagined. But all of us were in shambles the next day. Like,
wow.
I could barely walk. It was miserable. But the more shows we've played, the easier it's gotten physically, and the more it's kind of driven all of us to be more active outside of just playing shows, to like be physically capable to handle doing this again, so that we walk on stage. It's not the first time I've run around for 4 years. You know what I mean? So we've been easing our way back in, playing shows here and there, and then the last hurdle for that really was, can we handle getting back in a bus again? Our very good friends in the Day to Remember offered us the opportunity to come support them on some shows last summer. They were doing a tour, and they were like, we know you guys can't do the whole tour, but if you want to get in a bus and do a couple weekends of the tour, we'll let you pick whatever dates you want. You guys can come in and play. You do like we ended up doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We took Monday through Thursday off and did another Friday, Saturday, Sunday. To give ourselves time to recover physically, and it just let us ease our way back into getting in a bus. And honestly, for the first few shows, our singer flew every day because he just like couldn't handle the idea of getting back in a bus. And then we did a day drive on an off day. He was like, guys, I'm gonna go lay down in my bunk just to like kind of try to work through the anxiety of it, and unintentionally fell asleep. And he woke up from his nap and he goes, I guess we can go on tour.
Wow.
And so we were like, texting management immediately, book the tour before he changes his mind, So we got back to like actually touring this year, which has been awesome. We did 2 tours in Europe, and then we just finished a co-headline tour with Under Oath right before this. Let's go, baby. Fuck yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. So yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, when I found out in 2015 Andrew was losing his leg, I couldn't imagine playing a single show. And then we've just completed the most touring we've done as a band since 2015, like 2 weeks ago.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. We did Europe in the spring. We came home for about a month, and then we did a month of European festivals, had 2 days off at home, and then went and did 5 weeks in North America. Like, that's almost 9 weeks straight of touring. That would have been a lot for us before the accident, and while we were shot by the end of the tour, like everybody made it through, like everybody persevered, everybody had a great time. It's like there was never a universe where I imagined that happening again. So we definitely do this all with an extra layer of gratitude that like maybe would have gone like as we maybe subconsciously would have taken some of it for granted before, but like every day feels a bit more special. And like like festivals like this, or when you do it like a one-off like we are, create like a ton of like logistical nightmare scenarios.
Oh yeah.
Brings a bunch of like variables in when you're like flying in and flying out to do a show that could like very easily make it not enjoyable. But we're all just so stoked to be here doing it at all, that like that stuff doesn't even matter. We're just stoked to be alive and stoked to be playing shows, stoked to have these opportunities, stoked to be here talking to you and having you guys be like, we're just thankful to be able to do any of it at all anymore.
Dude, and that's why I always love talking to you, because there's such a sense of, triumph and overcoming the fucking worst possible thing you can imagine. You're fucking hero in my books. You know that, Chris. I got nothing but respect for you.
Don't do that.
I got nothing but respect for you. You know that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
You've got a new single out.
Yes.
Earn It. Tell me that means we're getting a full record.
So I don't know what I can and can't say. Earn It. We wanted to put out Earn It. We've been writing all year. We actually started doing some writing at the end of last year, like last December. So we have been writing. We have a pretty large pile of songs, probably about a record's worth of songs. But with Earn It was the song in the pile that was the furthest along, the feeling like a complete song. like we were like ready to, it's ready to go out into the world right now. And we wanted to put out something for the tour we did with Under Oath, because it's been almost 4 years since our last record came out. So we put that out, and then naturally everybody started saying, is there a record? So I guess I'll say that our plan is to go attempt to finish a record starting this weekend.
Fuck yeah.
There are no definitive plans about when it will come out. There's no like release date set or anything, but the plan is to go sort through the songs we have, figure out what of it we do like and what we want to release, and then hopefully start tracking it, hopefully finish tracking it. I think it is pretty likely that everyone will get another single before the end of this year, but I'm sure the record won't come out until next summer, I would guess, because of how slow everything moves in the music industry. But our goal is to get you guys at least one more song to hear before the end of this year.
That is the best possible news we could hope for.
Yeah.
Let's make some noise for Chris Davis, the Ghost Inside. Can't wait for your set tonight. A new single before the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you take us out with a riff, perhaps something from Earn It, whatever you want. It's your stage, baby. Take us out.
Earn It. That's what would be a fun Earn It? My songs are so simple. Let's see. I'll give you the breakdown. It's easy, but I'll give it to you. And it's also tuned way lower than this. That one's an F sharp.
Ooh.
I got to play with the 7-string for that one. But
this is bonus for the super fans. They get an F sharp tuning and drop B.
Yeah.
The nerds.
Yeah.
This is for you, nerds.
Yeah.
Chris Davis, a true defender of the riff.
Chugs, baby.
Hell yeah. Dude, appreciate you.
Dude, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.